Today, we're going to be going over the most hated map in every single Call of Duty. Let's dive in. Many of you recognize this face. This is Marksman. You guys have been tweeting me to react to this, so guess what? It's happening. Also, follow me on Twitter, Tdawgsmitty. We're going to go through his picks, and I'm going to give you my picks. Let me know in the comments which one you think is the better pick.
We're starting off with Call of Duty 4.
Call of Duty 4 wet work.
There was
Let's see what your reasoning is.
Wet work was a giant boat map. I don't have audio on this clip because there was copyright music being played. I do have audio on most of these, but it was a giant boat, and it was basically a huge straight line.
It is a giant boat.
Even though there is technically a left and right lane on the map and a middle lane, it really didn't exist because the lanes were like all jumbled together. They weren't really separated apart for the most.
Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to say that I agree with this pick because here's the crazy part about COD 4. If you go back and look at these maps, they're phenomenal. Like there's not one. I feel like there's not one like terrible map. Even in this map, it's not terrible. It's just the worst map in this game. Also, the funny thing about this map, I just remember having 3 times frag grenades and just spawning and chucking them to the other side of the boat. And just like he said, there was not another lane. There was not like the lanes weren't really wide. So, I mean, you could just spam and get like a kill or two each time.
Most part. And you end up just dying to a ton of grenades on this map.
Yes.
3 times frags, just aiming straight down, whipping them
every
over.
time.
You would get
tossing
10, 15 kills a game. It was absurd. And that was honestly a problem in COD 4 as a whole. 3 times frags and grenades.
And Sonic Boom, if you had that as well.
This map easily was one of the worst maps in the game. Not only was it hard to see people because it was a night map, it was also very campy with snipers who would sit up on the top and just never move. And on top of it, you would also have this constant, you don't hear it in the video right now, but constant rain sound effect because it's in the rain. So wet work was COD 4.
Also, my honorable mention would probably be District, but District was a really good S&D map.
Worst map. People did not like it. It was hard to move around on it.
I'm good with that pick.
Giant standoff typically.
I vote yes.
Holding left trigger.
Moving into World at War. Hold on. Before we get into World at War, another game that I absolutely loved, and I also think the maps were really, really good in this game. There was a very select few that were bad. Let's see what he says about Downfall.
You guys might not even remember this map. It was huge.
You better remember this map.
It was huge in Respawn. It was huge in Search and Destroy. It was just a big ass map all around. And on top of it, it also, I think, had tanks.
Of course it had tanks. Come on, Mark.
Map. I think they spawned on Silo. They spawned on Roundhouse. They spawned on Outskirts, I believe, as well.
Man, I forgot about Outskirts.
This was the main reason I started playing Search and Destroy. I loved Search, but I hated
but you didn't like the tanks.
I hated
Here's the thing real quickly with this is I thought that it was cool that they tried this with tanks. Now, yes, I'm kind of with Mark here. The tanks, I hated them. I never got at them. I always wanted to blow them up. So I agree with him. Here's the funny thing. I wonder if this map would kind of go crazy with Omni movement because if it's like the larger scope. Because think about the movement back then and how big this map was. Like this is like a ground war map in today's game.
Call of Duty. Didn't like it at all. It was annoying to deal with. Absolutely despised it. And I was like, oh, well, looks like Search doesn't have vehicles and I like Search already. I'm just going to play Search. And that was pretty much where it all started. And I stuck with it for the last 16 years. But Downfall was a bad map. It was not good. It was very wide open. There was not a lot of places to go. And if you did want to get into a spot where you were kind of safe, it was just a super campy mess.
You know what the funny thing about this is before we get into MW2, I feel like that map being a part of the campaign helped me like it a little bit more. Now, Mark, I agree with you. I think this is definitely probably the worst map in World at War, but I do think if you played the campaign, there's a mission where you're in this map. It just helps you kind of like resonate it with it a little bit more, if that makes sense. MW2
had some bad maps, as you guys have seen now.
Thank you.
Wasteland had to take
W take.
Derail was obviously not very good. A lot of people didn't like Rundown either, but Wasteland was unanimously hated by everybody. Not only because there was very poor.
And I'm going to say it, guys. I didn't mind Wasteland because the goal back in MW2 was to get nukes. And I'm going to tell you right now, the map where you could get a nuke the best was this map because there was nowhere to hide except for that little hut to the right of him right now. So I'm going to disagree with Marksman here. I think that this map was not that bad.
Vision on the map, but because spawn tubes absolutely annihilated it, and on top of that, if you got a streak on this map like a Harrier, it was basically a guaranteed nuke.
Yeah.
So if you were trying to go for a really fast nuke, I think Wasteland had the fastest nuke in the game for the original Modern Warfare 2. It took somewhere around 48
that player
seconds.
was. Holy moly.
That's quick, but remember back in Modern Warfare 2, streaks or kills with streaks would apply to your nuke. So you would go for a spawn tube, you'd kill the whole team essentially right away. You would get a Harrier, you'd call the Harrier in it.
Sounds like a blast.
It would give you your AC-130, you use the AC-130, you get the nuke. It would take very little time at all. Wasteland was horrible. We didn't like it, and let's forget about it until...
I would say, too, the map that I'm going to choose for this game is, I believe it's called Underpass. And that was a rainy... Is it Underpass? If it's not Underpass, the one I'm describing is rainy. Like, it's got a downhill slope, and it's got a bridge. I remember so many of my care packages getting stuck up here. It made me nauseous. What was the design there? A big bridge? Come on.
Of course, later in this video. Because it's coming back.
It's coming back, baby.
Moving past Modern Warfare 2, you guys might even know this map. This is a DLC map of Black Ops 1. It was called Kowloon. Just listen.
I'm listening. You lost me again, Mark. Yes. Again, this is a campaign mission. I think a lot of people did not play the campaigns back in the day. And I think if they had a little campaign vibe to this, they would be like, oh my, that's the Kowloon map. It's, whoops, didn't mean to do that. That's a banger. Listen, a little atmosphere.
Kowloon was an annoying map because, again,
I want to see what his opinion is here.
Map with rain. You're gonna notice a trend on some of these maps chosen.
I will give him that.
And at the start of every game, you'd have a airplane fly over you louder than all. I don't know what. Why would you do that? It was
now.
So
You
loud.
better be discussing how cool these zip lines were.
Kowloon was a pretty despised map back in BO1. It was a DLC map though, so you didn't really have to deal with it for most of the game.
Here's the thing with this one. I feel like there was some innovation trying to happen there. You know, you had the zip lines with Kowloon. Again, it was part of the campaign, which it always a soft spot in my heart. I felt like I was able to flank a pretty good bit in this map. I really do. I don't remember dying to campers in BO1 were there a pretty good bit because you got to think the ghost perk that you didn't have to move. So BO1 did have that little issue, but I remember being able to flank pretty good. I think for BO1, honestly, I would probably go Array because Array was a default map. It wasn't a DLC map. And on top of it, I feel like that middle area where people would camp was the most annoying thing in the world. You can only get to it through like the one door and the stairwell. And they would just put claymores on it. And you literally it felt like you could not break through if they really wanted to camp that spot. Plus it was a massive map, which I'm just not the biggest fan of. I would probably go Array in BO1. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.
Black Ops 1 otherwise though had a lot of good maps.
Yes, they did. Nuketown,
like, dude, I don't really see what that
Firing Range.
Like, this sucks. And then I saw Kowloon and was like, dude, I remember that one. And so yeah, I had to pick it. Kowloon was the worst map of BO1. I liked BO1 as a game. A lot of people chose to go back and play Modern Warfare 2 during this time.
No way.
People didn't really like older Call of Duty games. World at War, Black Ops 1. BO2
See, I was the opposite.
They did like that one.
I wanted.
After BO1 was Modern Warfare 3.
This is an easy pick.
Downturn.
I totally
map of Modern Warfare.
Pause. 3. Totally agree. What were we doing here? The dullest map of all time. What is the obsession with making super dull maps with like this modern setting? I don't get it. Dullest map I've ever seen. That little, he'll get into it, but before we even start,
everyone hated this map.
Yes.
And although you're watching footage that I could find in decent quality, this guy stayed on the top street in the house. Downturn was disliked because it was very campy up on the top street and in the house, but also if you went down below into the
look at what you're looking at there.
You couldn't see shit.
I still can't see.
It was campier than hell. This map sucked. And at the same time, if you ever got a streak on it, it would never hit anybody because they would all somehow be inside. So there was tons
that little middle area right there with like under the flag.
At
oh
the
my
same time,
gosh.
if you went out
the worst
for a second, someone would usually kill you because it was very snipe heavy down the big lanes. But this was a bad map, man. It was a bad map. It was funny because when I talked about Modern Warfare 3 and bad maps, Slade brought this map up and he didn't know the name of it. And I was like, that was Downturn.
Yeah.
Downturn.
I see. Now, the funny thing is he just said that people went back to like older CODs, like MW2, COD 4, when World at War and Black Ops 1 came out. When MW3 came out, I went back to Black Ops 1. I did not like MW3 very much.
It was not good in any game mode, unfortunately.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it could have been better without this map. But Modern Warfare 3 as a game was pretty good overall. I thought it was a little bit ruined with Recon Pro and Sitrep Pro. You might not have had those big of issues in Respawn, but in Search, they were bad. In Respawn, I could see Sitrep Pro being bad, but probably not Recon Pro. So this game ended up in the top 3, maybe top 4 COD games for me of all time, but it was not.
Whoa, top 3. See, there's a lot of people that think like that.
One, and you'll see the map for that right now. Slums.
Now, hold on a second, Marksman. Hold on a second here. Is this, before you get into your thing, is this because you've seen Slums so many times? Like it's been on every Call of Duty. Are you tired of it? Because when this map came out during BO2, easily one of the best maps in the game. Easily. Let me hear his reasoning. I have my map in my head right here.
Even though BO2 had a lot of good maps, Slums was really bad for Search and Destroy because it was so unfair how close the defense team would spawn to the middle. And you could get to the middle before offense, and when you do that, it basically locked off the whole map. So
he's treating this as almost like a search.
It plays relatively similarly in other objective-based game modes. I'm not sure how Team Deathmatch plays on Slums.
I think Slums is a lot of people's favorite for hardpoint.
And BO2 was actually just one of the best
domination.
Games, the best Call of Duty game ever made, but just one of the best games for maps overall. You had maps like Standoff, you had maps like Raid that were even brought back into Cold War, maps that were hijacked, Express, maps that were so good and very linear and fair for both offense and defense.
Studio.
That it was just a wildly successful game.
2025.
It had customizable player cards. It had,
look how good this game is. This game still holds up.
Which you could see public combat records. You
had 13 years later.
You had
12.
Map voting, which is surprising that was taken away. You had red.
So I think he's just kind of going into what made BO2 great, but I'm going with Drone. Do you guys remember Drone? That map was awful. And if you disagree with me, I'm sorry. I would like to honestly know if you've made it this far, what BO2 map is your least favorite? Because there's so many good ones on that game. It's got to be Drone.
That's on the mini map.
Like it has to be.
This game had and did relatively everything
it has to be
right. The only complaint I would have of BO2, it had dead silence as a perk, was that it had awareness as a perk as well. That kind of countered the dead silence. Only problem.
Oh, here we are with Ghost. Oh. Okay, first of all, W pick, because you guys know I love it. My running joke is I'm still trying to find somebody on Stonehaven, okay? We're still trying to find somebody. But you literally could just randomly pick a map in Ghosts and probably somebody would be like, yeah, that's a solid pick for worst map. Now, I know there's some Ghost defenders in this community here, but come on now, guys. Let's get it together.
Ghosts.
It's Stonehaven.
This was one of the worst games ever made to me.
Oh, sorry, one more interruption. I agree with him on this pick, but there is another one that's like has water in it. Dude, there's so many bad maps. Remember with the bus? Like Chasm or something like that? With the bus that was like the loading screen was like half off the map? Dude.
And this is, in my opinion, the worst map
what were they doing?
ever made in any Call of Duty game since the dawn of time. Stonehaven. This map, as you can tell, is absolutely enormous.
I don't think it's the map though. Like,
played it on console.
I don't think it's the map. I think it's solely because of how big it was and how campy Ghost was. I think you put this in like a BO6, it's not that bad.
You would actually lose frame rate. You would go from a 60 FPS game down to like a 30 FPS game.
Yeah, maybe bring the map in a little bit.
Difficult to snipe at distances, which was the entire map itself. Even if you were to move around on this map, you would probably get sniped at some point, or you would get camped out because once you got near the castle, it was relatively campy. I left this up because I cannot believe this was actually a map in COD. Dude, Ghost had a lot of bad maps.
Yes.
The game itself was not good. It was very linear with the map creation. And what I mean by that is that even though the lanes, there had 3-lane maps, you would get to a point where you couldn't go any further, and the kill time in Ghost was probably the fastest it's ever been in the franchise.
Yes.
Along with COD 4.
See what I'm saying? Like,
and so because you die faster, and how this is
you
a
can't
problem
make
every
big
COD,
maps with
the
fast
faster you
TTK.
die, the more people camp. And so when you would rush on these maps, and you
Look
would
at that
push
guy.
forward, they would get to
What's he
certain
doing?
points where the head glitch would be, and people would just never go further because they knew if they were
And a
if they did,
satcom.
they would get head glitched back, and they would have no chance
Instead
to
of a
win the gunfight
UAV.
because you died so fast, instantly. It was insanely quick. Sniping was good in this game. It did have very fast ADS and very fast kill time, but because the kill
Oh
time was
my
so
gosh,
fast with other weapons,
dude,
it just
this is
it didn't stick out
literally
that
the
much.
this little 30 seconds of gameplay sums up Ghost in a nutshell. Camping guy in the corner, putting down a whatever that thing is. I can't remember what it's called now, but you couldn't. It wouldn't even give you a UAV, a satcom. You had to get 2 of them to get a UAV, and then he dies to an IED.
It's unfortunate though,
Ghost.
because Ghost could have been pretty decent. Also, as you can see from this gameplay, thermals were used on everything. Used
Yeah,
thermal
true.
sniper, thermal
Even on-
RNG, thermal Remington,
Yeah,
thermal
Remington.
everything. It was a little annoying. Ghosts, yeah, a lot of the competitive guys liked this game. I guess because they banned a lot of the stuff that was stupid
everything
in
that
pubs,
was
but there
annoying
was,
was
a lot
banned.
of dumb crap in pubs, and it made the game awful. Awful in search, and I would consider awful in respawn as well. So that was Call of Duty Ghosts, and that was the worst map.
I'm excited
COD
for
ever
AW
made,
here.
Stonehaven.
What do we got?
Couldn't even function properly at the correct frame rate. If you looked across it, it was so large. I hope to God they never do that again. We'll see. We'll see. There was actually an equally
never
large
know.
map in World at War called, was it CeeLo? Maybe CeeLo? But you never spawned on the backside of it in search. You never looked across the full map, so you didn't have that frame rate problem. Past Call of Duty Ghosts, we had Advanced Warfare. And this is the instinct.
He's had some
Advanced
bad
Warfare.
maps too.
This map was annoying because it was just a big hill, and if you were stuck on the bottom of it, you kind of got picked off nonstop, along with the fact that it was very head glitchy on the stairwell.
I'm sure most of you
and
guys probably
kinda
moved
campy when
on
it came to
from Advanced
the forest
Warfare.
side is the left side of the map. What is that?
But this is actually a W
west
pick.
Side? West side of it. You kind of blend in. Advanced
Now-
Warfare really didn't have a lot of terrible maps.
I was just about to say that. They actually, there was a pretty good amount of solid maps on AW. They just had like 1 or 2 or 3 really, really bad maps, and this was one of them.
But it didn't have a lot of good maps either. It was kind of a lot of B tier, C tier maps. Not a lot.
Like I would say
stuck out as
Solar,
A tier,
Detroit,
but they weren't
Riot.
horrible to the point where you would call them like Stonehaven level.
the Palace.
So
Like, there were some pretty good ones.
AW's worst map. This game was plagued mainly with the supply drops, the pay to win system, having the
Man, the
Obsidian
pay-to-win
Steed,
system,
the
baby.
Bal, or the Bal Inferno, or the HBRE3 Insanity, and you would just have a disadvantage. Those people could kill you faster, and that was lame. And yeah, I'm glad that we don't have that problem anymore. I'm glad that's gone. Past, what was it?
Oh
Advanced
my
Warfare, Black
gosh,
Ops 3.
BO3. Okay, so this is a DLC map. Now, the only problem with him doing DLC maps, I feel like not everybody got it to experience them. This is, I believe, the one with, is this a CeeLo remake, or is this the one with like literal Titanfall people in it? I wish we would do default ones. I guess quickly for a default map. I have to think about it actually, but let me
Black
see what he
Ops
says
3's
here.
DLC map,
This is
Rupture,
definitely the
comes
worst
in at
map in the
number
game,
one as
for
the worst
sure.
map. You might recognize it
is-
because of the mechs on it. This was the last DLC of BO3.
So this is the mechs, obviously, but this is CeeLo from World at War. It's a remastered version, and the mechs are tanks.
So maybe you didn't play the full life cycle and you didn't experience this. That's totally fine. Congratulations, you won. This map fucking sucked. The mechs were annoying. And yes, by the way, the mechs were in Search and Destroy, at least from what I remember, because I don't play much
That's not
Respawn.
good.
I remember having to deal
They were
with the
pretty
mechs.
easy to take out, though.
Oh, this map was not good. It was not good.
This has
But
got him
There is
flustered.
another map. There's a runner-up in Black Ops 3. That was
Okay.
in the game from launch.
I was gonna
because
say, give me a
know
launch
lot of
map.
People probably didn't last until the final DLC.
What's
of
he
the
gonna
game.
go here?
And so the runner-up for the Black Ops 3, and BO3 had a lot of good maps in it. A lot of maps I liked, even DLC maps like Micro or Splash,
Oof, bangers.
Or, what was it? The skateboard map. Is it Grid? I don't remember that. I don't think it's that.
Grind.
But the few bad ones.
But I don't
this
think
one
Grind was
it,
in
and then
BO3.
Exodus. was the runner-up.
Oh,
for
yes,
I have a
yes.
little bit of gameplay of Exodus as well to jog your memory, because I feel like
Exodus
if you don't
was-
see the gameplay, you might not.
You didn't
remember
play
the
it
map.
very often,
There's
honestly.
a lot of maps we
Yeah.
played over time, right? Exodus wasn't that
This actually had a really good flow to the left side of it, to the left side of this picture with like the water and a wall, but you never went over there. You were always in this middle area.
bad of a map, except for the outside. The outside, this is the inside middle. This isn't too bad. It was a little shotgun heavy, which, you know, in BO3, that was the brekkie, and it was pretty annoying as a shotgun, I agree. The
Dude, I
outside of
missed
the map
this
was
game.
very head-glitchy and campy, though. So you kind of had to play the middle, in my opinion, if you were trying to be successful. So, I don't know. I don't think Exodus was that bad.
What's he gonna say for
but
IW?
It wasn't great.
I don't even.
And it was definitely...
Before he gets to IW, I don't even know if I could name you 3 maps on that game. Like the actual names of them. IW.
It was the worst game they've ever made.
What is this
Warfare
map called?
Grounded is what people said was the worst map.
Grounded is what this map's
They
called.
said IW, despite it not being a good game, it didn't have the worst maps, which that's good, I guess. A slight
That's
uptick.
good.
But
He's like, I don't care.
Everything else, I'm sorry, about Infinite Warfare was bad. I didn't like the health bars above heads.
Yes,
I didn't
hate
like
that.
the kill times. I didn't like the weapons. I didn't like the audio. I didn't like most of this game.
You just didn't like the game. It was. I get you.
Freaking rabid dog.
I think for me,
Infinite Warfare.
I would probably agree with this. I played COD 4 Remastered like the entire year. So like I said, I don't know if I could name you 3 maps. I just remember, I feel like this was a beta map. And I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble.
I did. And again,
I think this was a beta map.
Kind of back this up. And I think the general census of the community, it is and was the worst Call of Duty ever made. So
I would say
at least I was
MWIII now at this point.
Then.
The
I'm
new
not
one.
sure if I still have the same opinion as other people nowadays, based off my recent tweets. I think that Cold War was not a great game, and people said it was great. I disagree. I think it was horrible, and we're gonna talk about that later. Going past Infinite Warfare,
World War II, baby. Here we go. Now we're having some fun. Now we're getting out of the dark era for a lot of people here. And here we go. This map, oof. This brings
Did
back.
not like this game that much, mainly because it was an old game. Gustav Cannon.
Gustav
was the most
Cannon,
hated
man.
map in World War II. Definitely disliked.
What was the design
in
choice with this game?
Every mode. It was not liked in search. It was not liked in respawn. It was hated. Gustav Cannon was giant open map. You get sniped on it nonstop. It was hard to push up on. If you could camp, you'd camp on top of the big part. And you'd snipe as well. It was annoying. It was annoying. And
it was literally like this power position, which I don't mind that idea of like, okay, get to the power position, but like I felt like it was just, you would literally spawn into Gustav Cannon and you would just run to the top section and try to get there. Like whoever got there first, you'd sit up there until somebody else shot you down. It was like King of the Hill, but you were playing other game modes. The flow of this map was awful.
Call of Duty games. Going through the history of COD, people didn't like World at War. They went back and played COD 4. They didn't like BO1. They went back and played Modern Warfare 2.
I gotta disagree with that take.
BO2. But for years and years, and you look at World War II, people didn't like World War II that much. They went back and played BO3, me included, I think after a while. You looked at Cold War. People didn't like Cold War. They went back and played Modern Warfare 19. Vanguard.
I did do that.
Thing. People don't like older Call of Duty games.
I gotta disagree with a little bit with that, because I feel like you can do a modern game, or like not a modern game, but an older game, but you have to just make it a little bit modernized. Like why I liked Black Ops 1 was, yeah, it was set in like the whatever 60s or whatever, but there was still some modernness to it. So I agree in a sense of like people do like the modern feel, but you know, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, the new ones, I mean, they're modern games. I don't see people, you know, praising those very much. So I think I don't know. That's a tough one. I loved BO1 and World at War over MW2 and COD 4.
Modern era stuff.
Which might be an unpopular opinion. Maybe I didn't know it was.
But moving past World War II, we go into the future
what do we got?
with Black Ops 4. And I didn't play much BO4 because I was...
BO4 Arsenal Sandstorm. My gosh, number one, this map is actually pretty good. Not this map in particular. Arsenal by itself is a great map. For some reason in Black Ops 4, they decided to add like sandstorms and weather stuff and dark. They had like Hacienda at night. I don't know what the goal was here.
Fortnite at the time.
Give you new content.
People voted for Arsenal.
Look how bad.
Sandstorm.
Look at this, guys.
And I can totally understand why, looking at this footage.
Look at this.
The guy's using the thermal, and you can't see jack squat outside. This
and the
looks
thing
like
is,
a
too,
terrible map. Why the
there's
hell?
like,
I don't know how you could have possibly.
Okay, in Black Ops 4, they had to have an update where this suit that you were wearing got like more bright because the visibility on the characters were so bad. And then they decided to drop this map.
Arsenal, which is a map.
I think they missed the plot on that one.
Added a giant sandstorm to it and thought, yeah, this was an improvement.
This was the Fortnite era,
guess is
where they're just
Arsenal maybe suffered from too many snipers, and they were like, oh, well, let's limit their visibility by making it so they can't see across
guys
the whole
cracked
map.
though playing.
Yeah, it didn't work. I think it still looks like shit. It looks bad. Arsenal Sandstorm, I totally understand why you guys would have hated this. I would hate this too. A lot of the maps people voted for were maps that were already in the game.
I would say too with this one, again, it's the Fortnite era. So they were trying to just pump content out. You know what they did? They said throw some sand on it, give them a brand new map.
And had slight
Fortnite was updating every day.
Arsenal was one of those.
God, it was like, oh crap,
for Black Ops 4 because there were quite a few votes for these
I
maps.
told you,
well.
Hacienda at night.
Game Pass Arsenal Sandstorm.
What are we doing?
Hacienda Night. And I was like, well, I actually like night maps if they're done correctly. This was not done correctly. When you walk into rooms and you can't see anything because it's too dark, that's not done correctly.
Yeah, that's tough.
I guess, when I think of nighttime mode maps, the first one I ever played, well, Night and Day, was Macon and World at War.
Banger.
And that was a decent version of Night
Mark,
and Day.
it was a banger.
It wasn't so dark you wouldn't see anything, but it was also dark enough that you could tell it was like in a dusk, nighttime-ish map. Now, there's another nighttime map coming up that was also extremely well.
Okay, so now we have MWIII. I am so excited for this. My pick, I haven't watched this video at all. This is live watching this video. It's got to be either Azir Cave or Piccadilly. That's the two choices from me. He went with Azir Cave.
Modern Warfare 19, I think we all know.
He went with Azir Cave.
Otherwise known as Ass Hair Cave. This map sucked. This map sucked. We did not like this map. It was very hard to visibly see people, even outside, because of kind of the dusky desert overlay of the map. And then when you're in the tunnel, it was even darker and harder to spot people. On top of it, both bomb sites respond next to defense.
The guy's knifing his own teammate because guess what? There's no mini-map in MW19. Hey, COD, you see there's a bot right there needing to adjust. Let's get the mini-map, okay? What are we doing? Azir Cave is a W pick. I would probably either do that or Piccadilly. Piccadilly, I just remember the call out. Buy the car! Buy the car? There's 1,000 of them.
Further to annoy you is that the head glitches were absurdly good on this map. And so when people head glitched against you, you couldn't really pick them off of it.
Not even close.
This map,
quick TTK in this game too.
Always.
So yeah, I like that pick. Also, if you were in the cave, you could head glitch a ton of spots, and it was just a nightmare to try to get into that cave. I am going Azir Cave. I'm gonna back his opinion up, but I'm saying close second is probably Piccadilly. Cold War. He's going with Satellite.
It's boring. It sucks. And funny enough, the other bridge map that I could think of was in World at War. It also sucked. It wasn't the worst.
I'm not gonna lie,
but it did suck.
I'm not in love with this pick.
It, though, finally into Cold War. Satellite.
I want to see his explanation here.
Satellite was a shit map, completely open, basically no cover, absolutely no rush routes whatsoever in search on this map. Really, besides down the middle lane, it was ass. This map was balls. This game, in my opinion, was balls. They did not balance snipers. It ruined the game. It ruined the game. And people are like, oh, maybe you're just bad. I showed my KD. I pulled up my stats recently. I have a 4.7 KD with the Tundra in this game. 4.7.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me go back to that real quick because I actually like Satellite. Am I a wild person for saying this? I felt like that map was actually, it reminded me of Tatooine from Battlefront 2. So maybe I had a little nostalgia with it, but I thought that was a decent map. I didn't mind it. I also like playing prop hunt on it. That was a fun mode to play on it. Also, I would probably give it to Armada Strike, the big boat map. I feel like that would, I mean, there was only like 6 maps at launch in this game. Most of the maps at Cold War were DLC. So I would probably go the boat map, Strike, Armada Strike, I believe is what it's called. Because I didn't mind Satellite. Vanguard time, baby.
The problem was when you played Search, at least. I don't play a lot of Respawn, so if maybe it was better in Respawn. But in
Look
Search,
at
if you
this
wanted
map.
to use anything that wasn't a sniper, you had to overkill it with a sniper to open up the lane.
Look
I hated
at this Vanguard map.
Vanguard, though, also wasn't well liked. And Numa was probably the worst map of Vanguard. This map
There was a lot of bad
very
maps in this
campy
game
as well, very head glitchy. It did have some lanes, but because the lanes were very head glitchy, you couldn't move up the lane very well. You basically, if you moved, you died. It sucked. Unfortunately,
I don't know.
Vanguard to me was
I feel like
better
this
than
is
Cold War, mainly because
it's a terrible map.
Vanguard was the best World War II game they've ever given us. There
What
were
did
a
he
lot
just
of
say?
attachments. There were a lot of guns. Was everything balanced properly and correctly? No. But it's the best World War.
Whoa. Did he just say that that is the best World War II game that we've ever been given, Vanguard? I might have to clip this and put it on Twitter. He says that's over World at War and World War II? Oh, come on. Honestly, that's a fine pick for me. I feel like that game had just a bunch of mid maps. They weren't necessarily terrible, but they were just mid. And the game was mid overall. So the fact that he's saying it's the best World War II map, I gotta disagree with that one.
War II game that we ever had.
Okay.
In-depth stats to those
MW2.
weapons.
First of all, he's not even talking about it yet. Is there really an explanation? Like, what's the deal with this map? Santa Border Crossing. What is the deal? What is the goal? What is the objective? Was this a troll? Was this map a troll?
If you were looking for a game like for a World War II game, I think this is what you'd be looking for nowadays. I think the aesthetic of the game worked out really well. It was definitely better than World War II. So, Modern Warfare 2022.
Worst Call of Duty ever.
Santa Cena Border Crossing. This map, I mean, it's up there. It's up there for absolute utter trash. Everyone hated this on Respawn. They hated it in Search. They made a change to make it so the cars wouldn't blow up, and it still didn't really fix the map. It was still complete dick. We did not like Border Crossing. People hated this map. It was actually removed from the game for a short time.
Yes.
And that was great. It would have been fine if they kept it out forever. Didn't matter.
I don't understand what the goal of that map was. I'm so clueless today of who designed that map. Who was that? What is going on?
But even though we hated Border Crossing,
this was bad too.
And everyone would leave whenever it was voted for.
This was pretty bad.
In this game, I think
he's given an honorable mention. MW2.
And sometimes by accident. There was another map that people also hated.
Sheesh.
Yeah, Black Gold.
Terrible.
DLC map, nighttime map, and this would also clear out lobbies. The second Border Crossing or Black Gold would show up as the
clear
map
out lobbies.
play, everybody would leave nonstop.
MW3. Okay, looks like so he's going back to his MW2 pick, which was
that was fine with most of us.
Outskirts, correct?
That no one would ever play it, and if we got that map, we'd leave. It was good.
I guess that makes sense because
Black Gold, though, last but not
see,
least,
I didn't mind this map, but
Modern Warfare 2023.
I don't know if I played it more than 5 times.
Twice is Wasteland again.
Or Wasteland. What did I say? Outskirts? I'm talking about World of War.
It is 15 years later, still fucking sucks. And they actually improved upon some of the other maps in the game, like Rundown or Derail, or some of these larger maps. They made Derail more visible. You could see better on it. There wasn't as much like weird snow mist in the air. And they made Wasteland a little bit more clear as well. But that didn't matter. Wasteland in this game was as ass it was before, and no one likes it at all. It's not fun to play on.
I gotta disagree with the pick, man. I gotta disagree with the pick, but that's okay. Because I'm gonna keep my pick. Because I still think that map is terrible. I think it's Underpass. I believe that is what it was called. Okay, well, that's that. Quickly for BO6. I know he didn't put it on here. He made this video before BO6 came out. I am going with the wonderful Red Card, and by wonderful I mean one of the worst maps I've ever played in my entire life. Red Card felt like a MW19 map to me in BO6. The maps obviously aren't the most well-liked maps of all time, but I think there's a few good ones in there, and Red Card is not one of them. So my vote is Red Card. But anyway, that concludes today's video. Thank you guys for giving me the sending me this on Twitter and all that good stuff. It's actually, I've been wanting to try to do some reaction type content, but do it in a way where I'm giving my own personal feedback too, and not just being like, yeah, cool, ha ha ha. Like, I want to do a little bit more constructive. That is the worst maps in Call of Duty according to myself and Mr. Marksman here. If you enjoyed this type of video, let me know in the comments down below. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving if you're watching this on that day. And also, Leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new. We're closing in. We're getting close to 500K. We're going for it, boys. All right. Thank you. See you next time.